Micheal Pope.
Welcome to Life is a Sacred Journey. It's 8 o'clock on Friday morning, and my name is Micheal Pope. I am your host of Life is a Sacred Journey. It's so good to have you with us here today and this morning on this great, beautiful Friday, foggy morning here in the Bay Area. We have another Pondering this week. We have guests that are lined up for future tapings, but if this is your first time joining us on Life is a Sacred Journey, welcome. We're very thankful that you are here with us this morning. I want to do a big shout out to one of my little friends, Forrest, and just say what a big boy he was. I mean, golly, I know a lot of people say don't speak in gender, but he is a little boy, he is a baby, and he traveled 24 hours with his mom and dad, and did such a great job in that journey. And we need to do a big shout out to his parents who anybody who has ever traveled with a child, an infant, knows that can be, oh man, people staring at you and all kinds of stuff. So a big shout out to Forrest's parents and to you, little Forrest, for your journey to visit your grandparents and how well you did on the plane. I'm so proud of you. I'm looking forward to meeting you in the very near future. We haven't met in person yet. And to all the people on planes, let's talk about that real quick. This is a Pondering. To you who really understand, and I know that, being on I don't even know how much footage an airplane is, but being in that footage and hearing a crying baby and hearing it over, for a long period of time, or a frustrated child or whatever, even a crazy adult that's doing something weird and acting out. Take a deep breath. Don't get caught up in the moment. We're going to talk about that a little bit today. And just breathe through these moments in life. They are hard and they are taxing on our nerves. But at the end of the day, aren't we happy to be alive that we can even have stuff that stimulates us in one way or another? So that's kind of how I look at life these days. I read an article that said that the average life expectancy is 78. 78. So of course, Micheal Pope did the math. And wow, right? So if the average life expectancy is 78, then according to that statistic, that would mean I only have 12 years left on the planet. So I pray that I get a whole bunch more. But now I get, when I was growing up, the seniors in my neighborhood and the people around me who didn't want to put up with very much. 12 years would mean that that's not much time. And so what do I want to spend it being anxious? Do I want to spend it being angry at other people? Do I want to spend it being depressed? And the answer is no. Actually, I wanted to say something else in front of it, but no. I pray that I live much longer than that. But, if you take that average statistic and do the math, it really helps you to open your eyes that we have no time to waste getting caught up in the negativity and the stuff that drains us of our life force. But sometimes, we become caregivers. And in that situation, our life force is snatched from us very, very quickly. I'm in the process of putting together a presentation about ageism and stigmatization of elders and those living with Alzheimer's. And one of the things that I'm learning in all of the psychology white papers that I've read around stigma is taught. That stigma is similar to racism and all those other things. It is taught. So when you teach in a society that something is bad, while in fact it may have an aspect of it that is bad, not all things are bad, right? Not all things, and you can flip it. You can always flip it. And I was just reading a couple of weeks ago, again, this is another book that I have had for a really long time, and it's called Finding the Joy in Alzheimer's Caregivers Share the Joyful Times, and it's by Brenda Avadian, and she's the author of also Where's My Shoes and My Father's Walk Through Alzheimer's. There we go. There we go. That's better. I'm learning how to do this stuff. When I say that to people, finding the joy, they look at me, and some of them look at me in an angry way. They're like, how could you possibly tell me, a caregiver who gets asked the same questions 24/7 over and over again when I've responded, who is now having to help my loved one with their activities of daily living, which include helping them in the bathroom and all of that. How can you tell me that when somebody is using word salad and getting frustrated because they're trying to communicate with me and I don't understand what their emotional or even what their physical needs may be at that particular time? Micheal, how can you tell me that? Brenda, how can you talk about joy in the same breath that you speak of Alzheimer's, when it has robbed me of my loved one? It's a good questions, all of them. And all questions that, yes, have a yin and the yang to them, that have a flip side, a bad side. Here it is. Alzheimer's is something that I know every time I forget something at the age that I am in my life, and even earlier because of mild cognitive impairment and early onset, and because of what I've done for the last 26 years of my life, constantly worried. One, because at one point I wanted to have enough cognition to continue to raise my daughter. Then it became about I want to see my grandchildren. Then it became about I want to be able to have longevity and independence for as long as I can. And so we all have different reasons for why we worry about these things. And I've always been a person that has a lot of stuff going on in my head. But then as I've gotten older, or like I say, I forget something, I go, wait a minute, is that an excuse? Are you doing okay? Are you forgetting something? Oh my gosh, you know. So we get hyper vigilant about memory loss and the things that we forget as we move forward in our aging process. And because of all the stigma in the world around intelligence, you know, how important it is that you are smart, how important it is that you are brilliant in some instances, how important it is that we hold on to the memories of our lives. Those are the things. I'm going through photo albums and, oh man, the memories that are flooding in. So how important they are to our human connection. But when we have a dementia, when we have cognition decline, those things are harder for us to accomplish. And as a caregiver, it is difficult, even as a family member that may not be doing the actual hands-on caregiving, but from a distance or coming in day in or every other week or whatever the calendar or schedule may be for you as a family in this caregiving time, you begin to understand how difficult it is to watch and to age alongside someone you love and they don't remember you, or if you're their children, that this person who was so key to your life, good or bad, doesn't remember any part of it, and maybe even calls you by a different name and all of those kinds of things. So how do we move forward and move from that stigma? I think it starts with, as Ashton Applegate says, really as a country, as a humanity around the world, understanding that ageism is a construct and a paradigm that has been a part of our readings, our television, the way we look at beauty, the way that we think of intelligence and all of those kinds of things. You know, it's those statements where, oh my gosh, you look great for your age. Oh my gosh, you're still working at your age? You know, anytime we add those mantles to, oh man, she's aging well, look at her. You know, what does that mean? What does all of that mean? And they are compliments in some ways, but are they really? Because then what are we comparing that individual to? Or to what generation or to what age group? What are we comparing all of that. I want to talk about, I looked up stigma and I wrote some notes. So I just want to, and Sandy Sundin, who is a member of the Anti-Aging Project, really went into some other aspects of where this stigma comes from when it is about aging and Alzheimer's. And I just want to read a couple of things to you. That stigma affects the depiction of older adults in the media. For example, most of the TV commercials featuring seniors for medications or other health care related services, leading to the impression that older people are always in poor health, always plagued by arthritis and a host of other issues like high blood pressure, mobility problems, constipation, weak bladder, sexual dysfunction, and the list goes on. It also implies that these conditions impact older people in such a way that movies even that tell the stories of older people are usually cast with older actors or younger people playing older actors. And we don't want to call on those older actors to be in those roles playing the actual ages of individuals. Helen Mirren is one of my, and I just think she's one of the most beautiful women. And the reason I think she's beautiful, because she has embraced her aging, her every part of her, you know, her face, her style. Adrienne Arpel, I believe is her name. She's 102. And she's this incredible woman who has been a trendsetter and a culture creator from early in the, you know, the 50s and the 60s, and now she's 102. And I think I got her name wrong, but it's Arpel, I know is in there. And now she's designing for a carpet company, you know. All of those things, just embracing life, just reaching out and grabbing it with everything that one can. But these stigmas are largely responsible for the way that we think of ourselves and the way that others think of aging, and how we are looking at the aging process and anything that has to do with it. And Alzheimer's and caregiving and all of that are lumped into that wonderful pile of stigma. So one of the stigmas that individuals speak about and ask me, and they say a lot about it when it comes to Alzheimer's, is people with Alzheimer's can no longer bring joy. People with Alzheimer's are no longer able to participate in the form of communication that allows one to feel that they're connecting. And all of that is somewhat true. But when we adapt our way of communicating, when we create an environment, a calm, one-on-one, leaning in, active listening, and really paying attention to not just the words, but the emotional balance that the person is sharing with you, you can communicate. And they, as individuals, are so happy when you do. That's why I loved it before the pandemic when the preschoolers came to visit, because the preschoolers didn't understand that this individual might have Alzheimer's or whatever the case may be. They looked at them as grandma and grandpas. That's how their preschool leaders described the individuals in the program. And when they came in, they were just happy to build blocks with them and be read to, and then to sing and to perform and all of that with these grandmas and grandpas. They did not understand that there was memory loss that was happening, and actually in that very second moment that they were in this space, that person was probably progressing as the visit unfold. But the joy and the connection that was created between those two individuals were so profound that they both looked forward, the child and the elder, to them coming back and revisiting and sharing with one another. What makes that different for us as adults? We know too much. We use our education and our knowledge as not only ways to navigate, but we also use them to tear down in our heads sometimes, and sometimes out loud, how we feel about others and how we react to others. All of those things are what get in the way of being able to communicate with somebody that is living with any form of dementia. It takes abundant patience. It takes loving yourself and knowing that you will make mistakes, and as you already have in your life, and that hopefully you will continue to, because we learn from those mistakes. As long as the mistake doesn't cause physical harm or take away somebody's freedom or life, mistakes are going to happen. Because this is a new paradigm for you. This is a new paradigm for the individual living with this memory loss. And so how do we then surround ourselves, as Brenda says in her book, with the levels of joy that are so important? She says, understanding it, learning all you can. And I believe that is so. Learning all you can, and from people who really know, not people who don't know and are just making assumptions about the behavior. You know, our licensed clinical social worker meets with individuals who have a dual diagnosis here at ASAP, and they may have anxiety, PTSD, or depression. And that is usually a diagnosis that is given when individuals are early on in the disease process, right? So of course, they're depressed and they're feeling anxiety. PTSD also added is from a trauma that may be coming back up during that early time of Alzheimer's, where the brain is beginning to be affected and memory is impacted, and all kinds of cognition statuses are being impaired. But that said, the individual still has emotional capacity and emotional intelligence, and the importance of connecting with them and being one-on-one with them whenever you can, using music, photo albums, silence, touch, caring touch. There is a such thing as caring touch. So important. All of those things come together to bring a circle of love around the person that you're caring for. And then you look at yourself as the caregiver, or the person that maybe you are a part of their chosen family, and you want to support them through this process. We have to wrap our arms around each other in a way that says, I'm here for you. You need to take a break. I realized the other day that sometimes it's important not to ask if the person wants your help. Just give it. Just give it. You know, give the time, give all of that. And sometimes that's hard to do when you have a busy life and you get busy and you're moving around and you want to do something. I mean, how many times have I said, oh, I'm going to call this person tonight when I get home, and then I don't get home until 9, 10 o'clock, and the window for calling them is over. But, you know, somebody said to me the other day, send a card. And I got a letter from somebody that I love just the other day. She wrote me this incredible letter, and I will be able to have that letter until the end of my life. And it was so much fun to get a letter in the mail and to sit down and to read it. And Nancy, my friend Nancy, sends me cards. She is a wonderful card purchaser, and she sends me these magnificent cards. Or sometimes she'll send me a GIF in the morning when she has thought about me and I've danced across her heart. And those things remind us that you're seen. Thank you, Nancy, for the card that you recently sent me, because she was seeing my grief and she spoke to it. So thank you, sister. But how important it is to be there for other individuals. And sometimes it means just getting in your car, going over and maybe putting both the caregiver and their loved one in your car and saying, we're going. I bought some box lunches. We're going to the park and we're going to sit on a bench and eat lunch together. Something as simple as that, because maybe a restaurant is too overwhelming for the person that they're caring for, and just being outside in nature is such a calming thing, you know. And I just learned about, and forgive me, but I just learned about you know, this whole thing of like streaming and Spotify. I mean, I know about them, but putting all my favorites on there so that when I'm out and about on my phone, I can play that music. You know, that's something really cool to do. And for people who are living with Alzheimer's and dementia, the soothing, calming sounds of a flute, the Tibetan flute with, you know, water sounds dripping in the back, or rainwater, or just the Tibetan flute, or the Native American flute music is so wonderful. Right now, downstairs in the program, that's what the participants, when they arrive this morning, that's what they will be greeted with. Subtly, quietly, no chaos, no fast, jerky movements of the team and the staff, creating an environment of calm that is nurturing, but also providing that safety, that place of safety where things aren't moving at such a rapid pace, like you're walking through a BART station or walking through an airport. You know, those are chaotic spaces. They have so much stimulus, lights, camera, and action going on. And sometimes it can be not sometimes, most of the time, it's overwhelming for somebody with Alzheimer's, or somebody with dementia, or somebody that has cognition challenges that make those things, those lights, even just the fluorescent lighting alone is sometimes you know, really bad for some folks. It causes seizures and all of that. So know that your loved one, if you are caregiving for someone living with dementia, that they're doing the best they can. Their world has shrunken. And I remember being a part of an early stage group where people actually knew they were forgetting, and we want to start that group here soon. But the pandemic has really hurt us, that we just can't bring a whole bunch of people in our building because we're trying to care for people on a day-to-day. And COVID is still out there. I mean, we just had a participant that had COVID, not caught here, but the reality was impacted by it. And so we want to make sure we keep everybody safe. But at the end of the day, the early stage program is something that we want to start again, because it's for people who are in the early stages, who know what's going on, and they want to speak to it, and they want to be learn more about it, and walk with their caregiver in the time when they can express their feelings and maybe give some direction. But one of the members of that group, when I was facilitating it, said they were living in a fog. And now that I have this I have a cataract in one eye that creates this fog when I'm driving. And actually I've driven in that Thule fog that we have here in the Bay Area. I don't know what that means for that individual, meaning they could be using that, they're using that to describe being lost, unable to see 1 foot ahead of you. I'm just using what that same sort of analogy to tell you how it feels to be able to not see, to be able to not have a peripheral vision that you once had, even just a couple of months ago. That is frustrating. And it is, I find when people get in, especially driving, when people are trying to drive and they're in these vehicles that they can't control, and they keep moving into my right eye peripheral vision, it almost looks like they're getting ready to drive right into me. And the anxiety that creates for me makes me angry, frustrates me, destroys the rest of my journey. And I'm learning to meditate and breathe through it, as I always say to you. But again, think about that. If the person with dementia is saying, my peripheral vision is gone, I can't figure out what you're saying. I can't figure out where we're going. I don't remember that you said that to me. I don't remember your face exactly, sort of, kind of. How might they react to that? And then you marry that with the actual disease and the impact of the chemical, the neurons and all of that happening. Whoa, is the behavior surprising to you? It can't be, because it begins to put together a picture of what is happening to the brain and how the individual is reacting to it and how you then see it. And the loss issue is a big deal, and it creates some of that frustration and anxiety on both sides, both the caregiver and the individual that is living with this memory decline. And so when that is happening and you collide into each other, it's the crashing effect that I call burnout for the caregiver and misunderstanding by the individual who's looking to be understood in a storm, fog that they cannot get out of. And so caregiving is very, very hard, and finding joy in it can be like climbing Mount Everest, but there can be joy in it. Joy then means finding those three words, I love you. And those three words, I love me. Sometimes we forget. I've been caught up in that kind of situation where I have felt that I love somebody, and I did, and I do. It's nice being in love. It feels good. I love you. But the I love me, those three magic words, is just as important as the I love you. Because when you love yourself, then you have a inner self-esteem. Your ego kind of goes to sleep a little bit, because we don't need that ego self going, okay, let's do it this way and let's be the best. We don't need the stigma of ageism telling us that we need to be something that we're not. We don't need the stigma of, oh, look at us, we now aren't perfect. We need the loving patience of not only the people around us as we become caregivers and our life changes, or we're living with a little bit of grief. I realize patience of other individuals when you're living through grief can be fleeting. I realize that because going through grief right now myself, there are individuals in my life that won't allow me to experience the grief. That they want me to bounce back and be back and to do what they want me to do on the schedule that they want me to do it. The good news is I know better, and I'm going to take the time to heal this time in my life. We don't do that, and it piles up. And as a caregiver, when you're in that grieving process, and you're going to grieve over and over again because your loved one has losses over and over again. Grieving in the moment. I believe in journaling, and we talk about every place I see talks about journaling. Finding the good news and all of this catastrophic things that are happening not only in the world around you as you're trying to navigate this new journey, the finances, what goes next, where is placement in my life, the 5 wishes like we talked about last week. What do I need to do? What kind of healthcare do I need to put together for myself and for others and for the person I'm caring for? How do I make sure that I get enough respite and rest? How do I make sure that I look at the long-term care settings that might be available to me before I need them, before I'm stretched, but look at them while I'm still in a phase of learning so that I have a feel for what the next steps are for me? How do I get rid of the sense of divine loss that I have because this loved one, this person means so much to me. And I thought that I was going to have a life with them that would include them and the personality that I fell in love with. Those are all questions that I think a caregiver asks every day. Every day of their caregiving, I believe they ask that question, that they have no choice but to ask that question. Because they wake up in the morning and look across the table at somebody that isn't the person that they married, isn't their partner that they moved in with, isn't the friend that they had years ago, whatever the situation is. And they realize that there's a ratcheting away at that personality. And that's something that one has to grieve. And so the grieving process is something that you can work through in support groups, counseling, finding time for self, caring for that inner spirit so that you have more energy as you begin and continue to caregive. Well, we've come to the end of the time of our ponderings, and I just want to thank you all for coming to Life is a Sacred Journey every Friday morning at 8 a.m. here on Facebook, Zoom, YouTube, or wherever you're watching us. I want to thank all of you that have hit the share button, and I hope you will continue to do that, and that you will like us and share us and write comments so that we know that you're out there and what you're learning, and share what you're learning with other people, and give us ideas. And we're also looking for some expats out there that are willing to have come on Life is a Sacred Journey. We really want to learn more, and people are asking us to bring that topic to the forefront, but I don't know. I mean, I can read stuff, but it would be really nice to interview. So if you're an expat, please get a hold of us at Life is a Sacred Journey. You can go to Micheal Pope Productions and leave us a note, or you can go to write in the comment, and Felicia and I will get back in touch with you. All right, my friends. So as you know, 988 is something that I'm going to continue to talk about. And recently I learned that the numbers are growing for elder suicide. Who knew? Okay, who knew that? But yes, from isolation, from some of the things that we've talked about this morning, 988 is available to all of you from every age group, it's a non-discriminatory number to dial or to text. 988 is the suicide hotline number, and they will care for you. They will be there for you and guide you along your way, and get you the help and the resources, because they are connected to I was looking for my other number, but connect you to the resources that you need. There's also a California Youth Hotline number that for some reason the card is not in front of me, but Felicia will get it and put it in there. Please, people, do not suffer in silence. We all live with trauma. I live with trauma every single day. I live with trauma. I have it. But the good news is I've taken the time to go to counseling to understand where the trauma started and where it stops with me. And I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for that. Counseling, there's levels of counseling that you can get and support and help and to get through the traumas of our lives. It's sometimes necessary. But some of the things that you can do on your own is take a long hot bath, go for a massage, go for a long walk. And as we always close here at Life is a Sacred Journey, go hug a tree, pet a cat, pet a dog, spend time at the zoo, even though I hate seeing the animals caged away, but most zoos now are really starting to expand that and make the habitats more natural, which whatever that means. I have a problem with it, but being around animals is wonderful. Go volunteer somewhere, being around, helping other people, but don't stop living. Whether it's 12 years that you have, 20, 50, or 100. Live your best life and be the best you can be. Get out there in the world, my friends, and focus on love. I love you and I love me. And when we get out into the world and we share that with others, we're sharing the best of ourselves. So this is Micheal Pope, and you have joined us for another time at Life is a Sacred Journey, and I really appreciate your doing that. Go out and live your best life, spread joy, spread love, and when you do that, it'll bounce right back at you. All right, take care. Peace.